Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview. And whilst Jack is away in Italy for the week, we have another special guest on the channel this week. It seems like a very regular occurrence. We have someone different on the channel every week now. We've got the ante-post king, Mr. Charlie Sharp. Charlie, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, Sam. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. Looking forward to the jumps this week. And we've got Ascot and Wetherby on ITV this week. And we're going to be previewing 7 races, 4 races from Ascot and 3 from Wetherby, where the highlight there is the Charlie Hall Chase. And the jumps are in full swing now. Last week we had Cheltenham's showcase meeting. It was an absolutely fantastic meeting. We also did see a great performance on the flat as well, with Auguste Rodin winning the Vertem Futurity. Looking forward to seeing what he can do as a 3-year-old next season. A quick advert for next week. Jack and I won't be having a preview next week, but we'll be back with a live video for the Breeders' Cup. We're going to be watching the Breeders' Cup live, reacting to the races and getting your guys' thoughts on what's been a fantastic season. We'll be answering plenty of questions during the evening, so do get involved next Saturday. More to come on that later next week. So let's get started then and focus on the races, and we'll start off with the 4 races from Ascot. The first being the 130. This is the Ascot Underwriting Novices Limited Handicap Chase, a Class 3 chase over 2 mile, 3 furlongs. 4 go to post here. And the mighty Goshen, here he is with his chase debut, 6-4 favourite. Samarive is 3-1 for the Nichols team. Cobbler's Dream 5-1, and Gal Road 11-2. All fairly short in the market, so all with their chances. Now, Charlie, I spoke to you before we came on air, and we're both kind of in the same opinion. This is a no-bet race, but it's a really fascinating contest. I mean, obviously they're all going to be carrying different weights. I mean, Goshen's going to be carrying a mighty weight. If he can win this off what he's carrying here, I think it's 11-10 or somewhere along those lines. If he can win off that, then look, he's going to go on to much bigger things. I can imagine something like the Henry VIII Novice Chase, if he were to hit a Grade 1 at Sandown, would be the target. I mean, what do you make of this race as a whole?
I mean, it's a race that I looked at it and I just went, I don't fancy it. Like, I don't fancy any of them. Like, Goshen's a complete nutcase. The second they said they're sending in chasing, I was just like, I mean, us and everyone was just like, oh my God. Like, he's either going to be an absolute monster or is something bad's going to happen. Like, I think to want to get on board Goshen over fences, you've got to be a brave man. To give away £11, it's going to be some going. Like, if he can win that on what doesn't look like it's going to be preferable ground. Gary Moore earlier in the week said that, they need soft ground for him to run. It's currently good to soft. Doesn't look like it's going to rain. So we may see him get pulled out. I don't know. If he does, then it's an absolute farce of a race. So to be honest, I don't really like any of it. The only one with experience is Gal Road, and he finished like 20 lengths behind something similar. But I was just like, I looked at it and just went, I don't want a single piece of that. I think probably just off, like, if I was going to select one for the sake of selecting, I'd probably select Samarive. I think just Nichols and Cobden do seem to get on well with Ascot. But yeah, it's one, I think, sit back and watch it. It's going to be a spectacle no matter what happens. Something's going to happen that is going to be of note.
It really is. It really is. And you say a brave man to get on board him, and Jamie Moore's probably that man, to be honest, one of the bravest jockeys in the game. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how they ride Goshen on Saturday if he does go here. I think they've just got to send him out and just let him fly into his fence. I think if he gets held up and Jamie Moore makes his mind up for him, I don't think it's going to go too well. I think this horse just likes to get on with things. I'd be fascinated to see how he jumps the first fence. I think we're going to learn plenty after this, and whether this goes well, I pray to God it goes well. I'd love to see him as a proper quality Grade 1 chaser, but if it doesn't go to plan, I guess that they can always revert to hurdles if need be. So it's a no-bet race for myself and Charlie, but looking forward to seeing how Goshen gets on in the opening race at Ascot on Saturday. The following race, though, is the 205. It's the Bateau London Handicap Hurdle, just shy of 2 miles, this Class 2 event. And Any Harm in Asking is the 3-1 favourite here. Call of the Wild is 5-1. Hacker de Place and Brookfield Berg are 6-1, Washington 8-1, and Highway 102 10-1, 12-1 bar these. Now, I quite like Brookfield Berg in here, Charlie. He was third at Chepstow when going off favourite at the start of the month. Now, Nappers Hill won that day. I can imagine that Nappers Hill's going to turn out to be quite an exciting horse for Nichols Yard this season. I'm not sure we've seen the best of Lord Basley, who finished second that day for the Chris Gordon stable. They've been going in great form since the start of the season. You've got to remember Lord Baddesley, he was fourth in the Betfair Hurdle last season, so it's not too bad a form there. And like I say, Brookfield Berg went off as favourite at Chepstow and kept on well, never was getting to the leaders, but wasn't too far off. Just can see this horse improving for that run. The big danger probably for me would be the horse in the other JP McManus Silks, which would be Cool of the Wild for Alan King, who's won 3 of the last 10 runnings of these. I can imagine this horse here will probably have a Greatwood in mind as the next target. Alan King likes to target that race with horses who come here. So, yeah, look, I'd be worried about Cool of the Wild, but I can see improvement coming from Broomfield Berg, and I just think he could be taking the beating at around 6-1. Who do you like in here, Charlie?
I completely see your point of view for both of them. I think you see JP McManus Silks in a handicap hurdle, and you just think, oh my god, one of them's going to probably do pretty well. For me, I think Any Harm in Asking is rightful favourite at this point in time. He's, I think famously he's beaten Constitution Hill over point to point over at Tipperary. He had a reasonably positive novice hurdle campaign. Really came into his form when he went into handicap company. I think that handicap mark was pretty lenient. And I think we've got to remember as well, John Joe O'Neill won this race with Soaring Glory last year, so he knows how to win it. He knows what he needs to win it. And yeah, Harman Hasking, he was going to go to the county hurdle and he picked up a knock. And the second that happened, they went, right, we're going to go to the one at Ascot in October, the handicaps. This has been targeted for maybe 6-7 months now. And the Jerry Fielden at Newbury, which is a listed race, has already been targeted if he was to win this race. So I think they've got big hopes for him. He's been reasonably well punted in as well. Now 3-1 favourite in a pretty competitive handicap. I don't think that's for no reason. I think he's better than his mark. And for me, that's enough. I don't think there's something else in there that's as well handicapped as him. So at 3-1, I'll take the price of that.
Okay, Any Harm in Asking for Charlie at 3-1 in that race there, and I like Broomfield Berg. Let's move on then to the 240, which is the Burn Group Handicap Chase, a 2-mile, 1 furlong trip here. It's a very open affair. Before midnight, 9-2, Amula Gold 11-2, Nassalam and Ferrero Bamboo 13-2, Time White 15-2, 8-1 about Diego de Charmille and Monsieur Lecoq, and double figures the rest of them. That's a great name, Monsieur Lecoq. I love saying that one there. I don't know how I got on there, but yeah, we'll take it. Who do you like in this open contest, Charlie?
This was one where I looked at it and I went, God, the jumps are back, aren't they? Yeah. Like it was just a hand I've just got. I probably backed all of them at some point, and I just went, you know what? I love the fact that I have no idea. Like before midnight, I really like. I don't know why I remember his performance at Ascot last November so well when he beat Amula Gold by a short head. I backed him that day, and I just remember watching him the whole way around, just going, "Oh, this one's good. He's good." And I don't know, he's never really kicked on from there. And Amula Gold that day, I think, gave him £6. He's now in receipt of £4. So I'm not sure that the prices are right. I think he's currently favourite, and Amula Gold is either second or third. So I think Amula Gold probably of the two of them should be. I think Amula Gold should be maybe the favourite of those two. Ferrero Bamboo obviously put in a very good performance, coming third in the Grand Annual. He's also won twice, first time out. So that's something to note as well. And also we've got to remember the mighty Gumball. Like what a horse. He's run Ascot twice. He's finished first and second on both times. And he had a nice reappearance. He came second, little pipe opener. Fergal and Paddy, like this is their time. They love the kind of like just as we're going into the autumn. I think he's at 12-1. He's probably, maybe an each way play. I don't like of the ones I've mentioned. There's not one that I'm screaming out for. I'm probably not going to have a bet in it because it will be one where I'll back one and just one of the other four will win it. But I saw Gumball and it brought a smile to my face, and I went, yeah, okay, we're back. We got it.
It is a really tough affair. Who would be the number one selection, Charlie, if that's put forward?
I think just for my heart, if before midnight one I didn't back him, I would be disappointed. But I don't. At the same time, I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's well handicapped enough. But I'm a sucker for God. He's won on me for me before. go on. I'll have another tickle. But
Uh,
yeah,
There we go. Okay, fine. For midnight for yourself. Now I'm going to go with a horse who I think plenty of people have backed, especially around courses like Ascot and Kempton. It was the winner of this race back in 2019, and that's Diego de Charmil. Now, back in 2019, he had young Lorcan Williams taking £3 off him. This time around, he has Freddie Gingle on Saturday, who takes £10 off. And I've seen Freddie ride, and I think he looks like he's a pretty talented lad and probably stealing a £10 claim at the moment. He could be a very talented jockey of the future. And Diego Charmil is now dropping slowly and slowly. He's now rated 144 and just looks like he could strike at any time soon. And taking that £10 off could be ideal. Now, he was behind Slate House back in May. And look, Slate House isn't the worst horse in the world. There's actually one stage that me and you, Charlie, both backed him for the plate at Cheltenham each way at big
oh yeah,
prices. And we
yeah.
both thought at one stage he was travelling an absolute dream and thought he was going to come and win it. There was just that one moment where we thought it was going to happen. But look, the likes of Kempton and Ascot with regards to Diego Charmil, that's his stomping ground. He loves a flat track, going right-handed. I think 8-1 is far, far too big for this lad. I just think that Freddie Gingle is going to get a great tune out of him. Big mention for Nassalam as well, who we haven't really spoke about. Look, we haven't seen this horse for a while. I hope he runs well for the Moor Yard. He's been nothing but consistent. If he can get himself back to the way he was, he could still be quite well handicapped. But yeah, Diego de Charmil, he's going to be one of my better bets on Saturday. So let's move on to the final race at Ascot, which is the 3:15. It's the feature race there on Saturday. It's the Bateau London Gold Cup Handicap Chase. 3 miles the trip for this Class 1 chase. Major Dundee is 9-2. R Power and T Clipper 7-1. And Sam is 8-1. Fullback is 10-1 and bigger the rest. Now, Gary Moore has won 3 of the last 6 runnings of this race. And now you're probably thinking, look, Sam's going to put up fullback. And look, ideally, you do want in a race like this a horse aged between 6 and 8, and fullback is 7. So, look, there is every chance that he could run a really decent race. But I just think that our power could still be quite well handicapped as a horse, and a horse that's definitely improved for the Sam Thomas yard. Now, he was 5th in the Ultima, and then prior to that, 3rd behind Cap and Kitty in the Coral Trophy. Now, I'm not going to do it. Everyone's seen the video on Twitter of Josh doing the impression this week, but I'm not doing Cap and Kitty. I can't even attempt it. Like, it'd be that embarrassing. No, I'm not even trying it. No,
If you do it,
I'll
I'll
leave
do it.
No, Cap and Kitty.
Carp and Kitty.
Josh is probably watching this. He said he probably tuned in this week. So if he's heard that, I'm so sorry, mate, that we've absolutely wrecked that. But look, I just think that this horse here, our power, seems to enjoy a flat track. I just think he could be a big improver this season. Now, watch back the closing stages of that Coral Trophy where he was absolutely flying home. He looked like he was out the picture at one stage. And look, he pings the last. If anything, he over pings the last and almost stumbles over himself, goes head over heels. But ends up staying on his feet, but just didn't quite keep on. But look, if a strong pace can come in here, I think that Sam Thomas's yard, they could have a good weekend this weekend. They've got plenty of runners over the weekend, and it'd be good to see them have a winner. So yeah, our power is going to be my selection here. Charlie, what about yourself?
Mine is going to be Major Dundee. I just like some of the form lines that he has, and also he just seems to tick a lot of the boxes. He came 3rd in the Scottish National behind Win My Wings and Katie. And so that was over 4 miles. We know that staying isn't a problem. He's also won over 2 mile 4, so we know he has the pace to kind of keep up with a shorter trip. Ascot can be quite grueling. It can you need a little bit more to win at Ascot. So I think the fact that he's got that staying ability, I think is obviously handy. And over fence, he's only ran 4 times, but he has won twice. He's come 2nd, he's come 3rd. He's consistent. I think if he's not going to win, I'd say he's a pretty good. I'm sure you'll be able to get extra places, maybe 4 or 5 places. 9-2. It's getting close to one of those where you can kind of go, it's a bet to nothing, you get your each way money back. I think something would have to go pretty wrong for him to not, because I was looking through the race and there was nothing just like jumping out at me. I was like, he was the one where he just kind of started ticking boxes, and I was like, I just can't see too many being better than him. So he's going to be my selection, kind of like a tentative each way, but I'd probably have an each way and then a little poke on a win as well.
Okay, Major Dundee for Charlie and our power for myself. Now let's head off to Wetherby now, where we focus on 3 races there. And we start off by looking at the 225, which is the listed Bet365 Mares Hurdle over 2 miles. Molly Ollie's Wishes is the 11-8 favourite here. Martello Sky 2-1. Nina the Terrier is 4-1. See the Sea 12-1, and Isla Mahi is 25-1. Now, I'll let you go first here, Charlie. Do you fancy the favourite at all?
I have selected the favourite only because, right, so I thought I would never be able to get Molly Ollie's Wishes right. And then I went back through her form and I did a bit more digging, and you look at it and it's just so inconsistent. Sometimes she's finished like 30 lengths dead last, and other times she's won very well. And actually, the last 5 times she's won have all been in mares graded company. She just seems to like running around mares. The second she just likes running with the girls. She just doesn't like the boys getting involved. She's like, no, I'm doing this. And it just seems to be a race of just horses that I just can't seem to get right. Like, I backed Nina the Terrier the first couple of times. She didn't win. Stop backing her, she goes and wins. Like, most of the horses in this race, I'd probably had that. There was a time where I thought Martello Sky was probably one of the ones that I thought was going to win the Mares Hurdle, and she was brutal. Like, I just saw it as if you the last 5 times that you've run in Mares company, you've won. I think you're stupid to not back her. Like, the price is short. It's really, really short. But it just felt like the right thing. Like, See the Sea has been in my tracker, but I labelled her as a end of season and then like summer horse. I think that's her level, and I think this is just a step too far for her. So I kind of put her away. If she won at 12-1, I'd be pretty gutted. But no, Molly's Ollie's Wishes, I just went, you're 5 out of 5 in mares graded company. Gonna do it again. Let's just hope that you make it 6 out of 6.
Okay, Molly Ollie's Wishes for yourself. And you mentioned a horse there who you've backed a couple of times and it hasn't quite worked out, but Nina the Terrier, Alan King's horse, is going to be my selection here. Now, she ran at the start of the month in a handicap hurdle, beating just over 2 lengths behind Sonagino, who we saw at Chepstow just the other day, who looks an exceptional talent for the Nichols stable. I'm sure much bigger tests await Sonagino, but look, she's had a run and will come on for that for sure. So she seems very consistent. And despite being well beaten the mare's novice at the festival last season, I think she could develop into quite a nice horse. And the reason I wanted to go for something at a price, I just have question marks. Now, you mentioned there Molly Ollie's Wishes and has one in Mare's company. I mean, probably the more memorable one would be the Grade 2 SBK Mare's Hurdle at Ascot that she won. But I just don't think that was that great a race at all, to be totally honest. I don't think it was a really good Grade 2. Absolutely pounded in the Liverpool Hurdle. 17 lengths behind Goshen in the Coral Hurdle, which, I mean, a lot of Goshen haters out there will have to query. So I've got to take her on, I really do. Martello Sky, I know Jack is a massive fan of her, but I think the bigger tests await her. Probably step back up in trip, maybe go for that Mares handicap hurdle at over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham again in December. I think that might be the aim after this. I'd probably go back and try and defend that. I just think the good to soft ground over 2 miles. I think Nina the Terrier could go in here. I think 4-1 seems a fair enough price. So Molly Ollie's Wishes for Charlie and Nina the Terrier for myself. Now the 3 o'clock is the Bet365 hurdle, known to most as the West Yorkshire hurdle. Potential stayers hurdle contenders in here, you never know. Now Sporting John is the 15-8 favourite. Prashima is 7-2. Indefatigable 7-2. 3 under 3 5 13-2. Thomas Darby 17-2, and the outsider of them is Oscar Elite 22-1. Now this is another no bet race for me, Charlie. If you had to force me to have one, I'd probably go with Indefatigable, last year's winner, who looks a fair enough price. Beat some nice horses last year, including Prashima, who lands in here again, and Paisley Park, who was in the race last year. Look, we haven't seen Sporting John since Warwick. I know he was touted very heavily punted for the Pertemps final. And even for the stayers after that win at Warwick, and it didn't quite work out. But he'd have to put in the wow factor, I think, in here for me to really consider him as a stayers hurdle contender. I don't think we're likely to see anything come out and really look like it could challenge the likes of Flooring Porter and the rest. But look, you never know. We've seen crazier things. But yeah, look, I'd be with Indefatigable if I had to be forced to have a bet. What about yourself?
I really like Prashima here. I mean, I've really liked him basically ever since he went into handicap company. There was one run where you kind of suss that Dan and Harry, they were like, okay, that's how you ride him. You ride him from the back. You need good ground. You need a fast pace. And then the second we swing for home, if you look, everything starts coming off the bridle, and Harry, he's just sitting there and he starts pinging him and he starts hitting the front. And I absolutely love him. And he ran at Chepstow. It was a poor seventh. But actually, I was watching the race, and for the majority of it, I just went, okay, they're thinking about something else clearly, because they rode him from the front, and then the field kind of came to him, and Harry gave him a push. He gave him a whip, pinged the second last, and then fairly quickly Harry just relaxed down on him, just eased him down, did a Frankie Dettori in a handicap. There's a flat reference for you. Just kind of eased down and just went, right, we're going to give him an easy finish here. And I just went, right, well, they've got something planned here. And I've just had a feeling that he's possibly better than a handicap hurdler. And I think they looked at this race and they went, you know, if we can win that, maybe we can go for a stayers hurdle tilt. And I think second twice and then fourth. There's just something that just goes, do you know what, this horse is better than he's letting on. And I'd love to be right, because I've been a fan of his now for 2 or 3 years. And I would like to see him, you know, take it to that next level, beat horses like not proper horses, but stayers hurdle contender horses. You know, Sporting John, I think, should have ran in the stayers hurdle. I think with him in the stayers hurdle, the picture would have changed. Maybe Foreign Porter wouldn't have won. But I like Prashima, and I couldn't let him go here. I like him. And when I was writing this up, he was 9-2. You said he's 7-2, so he's been backed, which is nice to hear as well. So Prashima for me.
Okay, a really good case there made for Prashima in the 3 o'clock, the Bet365 hurdle on Saturday. Now, the final race we look at is the Charlie Hall Chase at 3:35. It's the feature probably the whole day on ITV. It's a Grade 2 chase over 3 miles. Bravemansgame, your 6-4 favourite here. Ahoy Senor, 2-1. Eldorado Allen, 5-1. Secret Investor, 14-1. Win My Wings, 18-1. And bigger prices about the other two in here. I mean, I really hope that we get to see both of these. There's no guarantee, depending on ground. I know that both trains have come out and spoken with regards to the ground, and decisions will be made probably early Saturday morning. But let's discuss them both. Ahoy Senor beat Bravemansgame at Aintree in the mild May. Obviously, they were meant to face off in the Brown Advisory. Bravemansgame being pulled out due to the ground, but Ahoy Senor was second in that Brown Advisory, behind Lom Press. And you have Bravemansgame, who got the better of Ahoy Senor in the Quarto Star Novice Chase at Christmas. Charlie, are you going to be siding with one of the two if they do turn up?
Yeah, Ahoy Senor for me. I think Bravemansgame, I think Nichols just has pinpointed him for the King George basically since I can remember the horse. I just feel like there's always been this thing. It's like Bravemansgame, King George. And Nichols is so good at just training a horse for one specific race. And for that reason, I'm never going to back Bravemansgame for any other race other than the King George. And for that, you look at the rest of the field. Ahoy Senor is the best. He's got the best form. He won the Towton here last year, so you know he kind of acts around the track. He was obviously second, as you said, behind Lom Press, and then won the mild May. He's been a fantastic horse, and I mean, before he even went chasing, he was a good horse. And that's, you know, they were always like, he's going to be a chaser. And he's been phenomenal. And I think he's going to progress even further. He's going to step up into this open company here. And I really fancy him. I'm not sure that, I think it's maybe 5-4 and 5-2. I'm not sure they should be that far apart. I'd have it maybe 7-4 for the pair. But Ahoy Senor for me is a standout bet here.
Okay, 7-4. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the best price is. I think I see 2-1 there, Ahoy Senor. Good bet for Charlie there. Look, it might be another watching brief for me here, but I think if I was to have a bet, I might actually have a small each way play on Eldorado Allen, who could be an each way bet to nothing in here. Look, third in the Ryanair behind Allaho and Janet Dill, beat the likes of Fanny on Destraval, Mellon, Sham Blue that day. Your worry is with regards to Eldorado Allen, he's coming up against these second season kind of chasers, and they're two exceptional chasers as well. They're both going to have huge targets for sure. you know, Bravemansgame, the King George, obviously the main aim, and Ahoy Senor, the Gold Cup, probably the big aim for that horse there. And it'd be fascinating to see how good these two are as second season chasers and coming up against each other. I'd love to see them both turn up. Whether we get to see it, I don't know, but we would love to see that battle. But yeah, I think Eldorado Allen, I think potentially, look, if one of these weren't to turn up, he could be the bet without the favourite for sure in here. I can't see him not being there at all. I think he could run a really good race. So there we go. Time to get the naps and next best before we go. Then we'll start off with our next best. And Charlie, you can go first here.
My next best is going to be Prashima at Wetherby at 3 o'clock.
Perfect. Next best is Brashima at Wetherby. My next best is going to be Broomfield Berg coming at Ascot in the handicap hurdle there. I think the horse could run a really big race. And your nap, Charlie?
My nap is Goshen. I'm joking. My nap is Ahoy Senor.
That's something that I would do. It really is. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be putting Goshen up as a nap. It's probably the first time I've actually done that when he's been running on this channel, not having him as a nap or next best. But my nap is going to be a fair price one. I think Diego de Charmel will run a massive race at Ascot, currently 8-1. Freddie Gingle, big ITV appearance for him. We get a big interview on ITV. I've got a feeling he's going to run a huge race. The legend that is Diego de Charmel. And Charlie, before we go, I called you the anti-post king with the free bets on Twitter. We'll put your Twitter down in the description for sure of this video. We can't leave without getting some form of anti-post tip before we leave for the season. We haven't actually done our official jumps preview or any anti-post bets at the moment, so you're the first one to put one up. Who's it going to be?
Fantastic. Well, going off what I've just said about the Charlie Hall, I think Bravemansgame and the King George. He's one that I've been kind of chipping away at for a while now. I've had maybe 4 or 5 that I've kind of been chipping away in various trebles and accas, and kind of I've just been like tinkering whenever I've got a little bit of spare change. And Bravemansgame is the first one, I think. Obviously, Apple Time, the Betfair Chase is very short now. It's about 4 to 5, so I'm not really sure that's worth, even mentioning. But yeah, Bravemansgame, I still think he's a fairly reasonable price. So yeah, Bravemansgame for the King George will be my anti-post for the flat season at this stage.
There we go. Yeah, no, I think it's made for him that race, and I think you're on to a winner there as long as he turns up. So Bravemansgame for the King George. And that's it for this week. Big thanks to Charlie as always, and thanks very much for you guys for watching. Like I say, we'll be back next week, not with a weekend preview, with our Breeders' Cup Live. Jack and I will be telling you more about that next week, I'm sure, on Twitter. Let us know down in the comments who your nap of the weekend will be. I'll try and reply to as many as possible. Like I say, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon.